A jarring moment snaps the room into silence, the kind of live confrontation no one expects inside a formal inquiry. A well-known investigator's voice slices through testimony, delivering a phrase so sharp and so personal that every person present feels the temperature change instantly. A split second of stunned stillness follows, as the meaning of those words begins to land. The audience is brought into the unfolding tension. Why this confrontation erupted, how a single sentence from Paul O'Sullivan spiraled into controversy, and why Cedrick Nkabinde's reaction might reshape the trajectory of the entire hearing. Viewers are subtly promised access to the underlying motives, the historical friction, and the hidden pressures that built up to this explosive moment. A provocative question hooks the audience. What forces push men at the center of national investigations to turn against each other in the most public, volatile way possible? Viewers are invited to reflect on the razor-thin line between exposing corruption and becoming entangled in personal vendettas. The hearing room atmosphere shifts the moment O'Sullivan speaks, a sudden break in decorum that catches even seasoned observers off guard. The tension isn't new. Everyone knows these two figures share years of friction, but no one expected the pressure to surface so suddenly and so sharply during testimony. A deeper context unfolds as Nkabinde continues speaking. Long-standing grievances, aborted communications, and competing narratives. The clash feels inevitable, almost like a storm gathering strength over years, finally erupting in one unfiltered moment. The accusation that triggers O'Sullivan's anger comes unexpectedly, framed casually by Nkabinde, but carrying implications heavy enough to provoke immediate emotional escalation. Suddenly, the room is no longer a calm interrogation chamber. It becomes a battlefield of egos, history, and simmering distrust. O'Sullivan's frustration grows visible, his breathing sharpened, and his tone shifting from measured professionalism to something far more personal. It's a departure from his usual controlled demeanor, revealing how deeply these allegations cut. The words that follow land like a hammer, a phrase loaded with threat, delivered with pointed precision. The sentence hangs in the air, unmistakable and shocking, forcing everyone present to confront whether a boundary has been crossed. Observers exchange glances, stunned not only by the directness of the statement but by the raw emotion behind it. Even those familiar with high-stakes testimony feel a jolt. Few expect such unguarded hostility in a setting governed by strict protocol. The committee attempts to intervene, voices rising in layered attempts to calm the situation, redirect focus, or impose order. But the energy in the room has already shifted, unsettled and charged, pushing the inquiry into uncharted territory. A realization spreads that this confrontation is not simply an argument. It's a revelation of an unresolved, deeply rooted conflict that now threatens to overshadow the substance of the testimony itself. A sharp and timely call to action urges viewers to subscribe, follow, or stay connected to ensure they don't miss the next unpredictable twist emerging from this volatile inquiry. The historical rivalry now comes into stark focus. Years of investigative paths crossing, accusations exchanged publicly and privately, and moments where cooperation collapsed under suspicion. Their fractured relationship is laid bare for the audience. Past investigations surface, revealing a pattern of mutual distrust. Each man has, at different moments, cast doubt on the other's credibility, fueling a long chain of unresolved disputes that make this confrontation feel like the climax of a much older feud. The testimony continues shifting as inconsistencies begin to appear, small cracks in statements that draw immediate scrutiny from analysts watching closely. These contradictions intensify the stakes of the entire exchange. Attention shifts to legal boundaries. When does forceful language become intimidation? Experts highlight the thin margins that define permissible conduct within an inquiry and the repercussions when those margins are breached. Concerns rise over witness protection, as Nkabinde's allies and critics debate whether the heated words constitute a genuine threat or a moment of uncontrolled frustration. This sparks a wave of public argument. Commentators weigh in, some condemning O'Sullivan's reaction as reckless, while others argue that the emotional outburst is understandable under the stress of long-term investigative battles. Polarized opinions flood online spaces. New information emerges shortly after the confrontation, adding layers of complexity. Details that were previously overlooked now gain attention, forcing a reevaluation of motives on both sides. Political ramifications ripple outward. Linked institutions, allies, and adversaries begin responding, each shaping the narrative to defend their interests. The fallout extends far beyond the four walls of the hearing room. A resurfaced past incident suddenly becomes relevant, a previously dormant dispute that now appears connected to the current conflict. This unexpected revival complicates the public's understanding of both men's intentions. Long-term consequences become a lingering question. How will this feud influence future cases, credibility battles, and stakeholder confidence in the investigative process? The narrative closes by pulling the viewer back to the central confrontation, highlighting the weight carried by a single sentence spoken in anger, and pointing toward unfolding developments that could reshape ongoing investigations. The ending sets the stage for the next wave of revelations, hinting that the story is far from over.